Welcome to Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football. My name is Wes, and I'd like to invite you to join me, Jesse, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news from around the league, the big games this weekend, and more.
And what's up, everybody? It's Wes. Thanks for joining us this week. Another crazy week of football, both today and last week's games. Man, if you thought you'd seen everything in 2020, just wait, because it continues to get crazier and crazier. And as always, to talk about craziness, let's welcome none other than Jesse. What's going on?
You know, it's not bad. I'm feeling good, per usual this season, but not too bad. I feel like Matt is unwell.
Matt
just looks so downtrodden.
Oh,
how are you, my friend?
What? Listen, I am fine. Everything's great. It's dumpster fire time in Tennessee.
And I didn't
even... buddy. Yeah, it's a steaming pile of garbage. It's on fire. It's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I don't feel feelings anymore. It's awful.
I feel like Matt's still really thankful. He's got a lot of that Thanksgiving thankfulness.
Right. Yeah, there's still so much to be.
I'm just glad the holidays are here, or else I might kill myself. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Do holidays help with that? Because sometimes they might push you over that.
I'm being hyperbolic.
Yes, and you know, the world is better with you in it, Matt. So remember that.
I appreciate that.
That goes for all of you listening too. So absolutely. Yes. So without further ado, let's get into
except Gary Danielson.
Oh gosh.
Except Gary Danielson. Yeah, I said it.
Wow. Wow.
Sorry.
Football is better with him not in it.
Just how about the football world? Let's just leave it at that. With the football world, regular world to be fine.
I'll stop.
Okay. You realize we made it like 30 seconds into the show
we're already derailed. Yes, sir. Seconds. I'm here for it.
All right, let's talk about those games from last week.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right, our first game last week was Texas A&M at 6-1 at Auburn 5-3 from last week, and Texas A&M won this one. And my file just decided to reload while I'm looking at it. So fantastic. All right. Oh yes, 31-20. Texas A&M 31-20. Jesse got the point in this one. As I was watching this one, congrats. As I was watching this one,
I don't get many of them, but I got this one.
Well, you know, like we said, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. This one, as I was watching this one, especially in the first half, we've observed that Bo Nix is a completely different quarterback when he sets his feet. And we've even talked about this in past weeks about how when he gets the happy feet, when he starts to run, when there's no pressure.
They're not happy.
Yeah, they're not happy. And
they're
his
very
receivers,
unhappy feet.
His receivers aren't happy. The fans aren't happy. Gus isn't happy. He missed an easy touchdown early on in that. If you guys saw that, he missed a wide open receiver. Poor guy. I mean, he was open by 15 yards, I think. And the ball just sailed over his head. So we saw him make some better throws in the second half. He got settled down with his feet and stuff, and he played better. But I mean, honestly, Auburn gave A&M all they could handle in this one. And I mean, they took the lead twice in this game, but ultimately in the end, A&M scored 17 unanswered in the fourth. That was the real difference maker. So Jesse, I'd like to start with you first on this one. Obviously, you're fresh off watching a Bama-Auburn game. So what were your thoughts on this one and just kind of how they hung in there with A&M?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I won the pick 'em on this one, but I was still kind of surprised. Yeah. I had just come in from hiking all morning and sat down at a bar and, grabbed a beer and looked on the screen. And I was like, wait, is that accurate? Like, are we doing that? I was talking to a bunch of people in the bar, and some of them were Auburn fans. And, we talked about Bo Nix and just the inconsistency Orange Cat wants to talk about it.
My page won't load.
and-
Your cat's jumping in your lap. You know, it's just a
I
fun
know.
show.
Better keep my head on a swivel here. There's no telling what can fly out.
We
of here.
are off the rails. But we were talking about the same thing you mentioned. He's just inconsistent. When you put pressure on him, he does not handle it well, and that is not what you want to see from a Power 5 quarterback. You can't see it. You cannot have that, especially when you have quarterbacks out there right now that are looking so good. Another thing is A&M not convinced on their defense, letting Auburn, get that close, and their offense not putting up as many points as they probably should have. But again, Auburn was at home and things are weird, and I don't know. These two teams, I think, have a lot of improvements that they need to work on. Nobody apparently plays defense very well in our world, so
Not anymore, apparently.
It was apparently what I expected coming out of my score prediction, but was still surprised.
Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
Same thing. I was shocked that A&M wasn't able to put this thing away early and stay a margin of victory of 11. I wasn't really anticipating at all. I can't remember what my original prediction was, but I think it was like it was at least 20. I think, and I was wrong. Apparently, Auburn was able to hang around, and I think that you've got to look at quarterback play for Auburn. I think that was the thing that kind of held them back a little bit here. No disrespect to Mr. Nix, but looked real rough. And anytime you put any kind of pressure on that kid, he folds.
Who sits behind him?
I have no idea.
I don't know, and that's the question. A lot of people have said, "Hey, we need to pull him," but even Auburn fans are saying, "Like, who are we going to put in?" Because I literally don't know who's qualified to step up and perform at a high level. So,
and he's just a sophomore. He's a true sophomore, right?
Yeah, true sophomore. The backup quarterback for Auburn is Grant Loy, who's
has he gotten any playing time?
He's a graduate transfer out of Bowling Green, so I don't know if he's taking any snaps or anything.
It may be worth a snap.
Jesse.
I'm just saying it may be worth a snap.
And then behind him is redshirt sophomore Cord Sandberg, which is the most quarterback name I've ever heard in my life. Cord Sandberg. And I
don't know. It kind of sounds like a news reporter. This is Cord Sandberg.
I mean, his picture kind of looks like a reporter. But anyway, so yeah, I was surprised that Auburn was able to hang around in this one. I'm not sure what that says about Texas A&M. Maybe it's a Jordan-Hare game, so those games are always a little odd. So, but they still put up 500 yards total offense. I just feel like they should have had at least another touchdown or two.
A&M apparently was their highest rushing total of the year. In this game.
313 yards. Oh. I'll believe it.
Running over 300 yards.
Spiller had 120 by himself. So
good day on the ground for A&M, but I guess they didn't translate that to points. Is the only thing I could think.
Even in the bar that I was in with a couple of Auburn fans, and we were talking about A&M as well, and I kept my hatred for Jimbo Fisher to a minimum.
I'm so proud of you.
In public.
So proud of you.
Thank you. I'm trying. I'm getting better. But we were talking, and everyone agreed unanimously that if we have another game where in a perfect world A&M gets to play Florida, it just doesn't end the same.
Yeah, and that's probably true.
I really wish we could get that Texas A&M Florida game back.
Too.
I really do, because
neutral site.
I bet you'd be looking at a 7-0 Texas A&M game, Texas A&M team.
Well, at this point, I'm sure A&M would love.
You think A&M would take it?
To take Florida?
You think they'd still beat Florida?
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think A&M beats Florida.
Yeah, it'd be fine. They'd take Florida.
I don't think so.
I was like, how are you getting there?
Man, why do you have to be the heel?
Do the math for me.
Listen, this is just what I do. I'm a natural heel. This is what I do. Oh, you need somebody to be that guy. I can be that guy. I'm that guy all the time. I'm a teacher. This is what I do for a living.
Devil's advocate.
All right, let's get to Arkansas at Mizzou, and that is, by the way, the Battle Line rivalry, which I neglected to mention last week, so apologies. But the trophy, or I think it's a trophy. Yeah, it's actually a trophy. Stayed in the state of Mizzou because they won 50-48. Matt won the point. He's the only one to pick Mizzou. in this one.
Them Tigers.
So
we were holding out hope for Arkansas.
It wasn't so certain, man. So that game, man, it really wasn't. It was insane. I mean, Frank's had a rib injury in practice this week or last week. And Saturday morning, it was apparent he wasn't going to be able to start. So KJ Jefferson gets his second career start, surprise. And he did really well, though. I mean, he had 18. He completed 18 out of 33, 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. And, man, one of them was just a beautiful bomb, well-placed ball out there. And, let the wide receiver run underneath it. It was just a great thrown ball. And just both offenses. I mean, like, we're speaking of defense, like, where were they? What is that? Man, that's like
defenses don't play anymore.
That's over 1,200 total yards in this game.
A lot.
But yeah, the ending was just as bizarre as the rest of the game. Arkansas, they got a 2-point conversion at the end. Should have been an interception, but it bounced off the guy's hands, and I was going crazy because, I mean, it should have been an interception, and the guy tipped it, or it went off his hands, right out of his hands into the Arkansas receiver's hands for the 2-point conversion. So they took the lead, but there was a little bit too much time left on the clock. And for us, I mean, we've talked up Barry Odom's defense all year for Arkansas, but man, they couldn't stop anything, and especially in the second half. It was like every time they'd rush and they'd get like 10, 12 yards every time, with no problem. And you're like, what in the world is going on here? But that continued, and Mizzou was able to march down the field right at the end and kick the field goal to win the game. So I'd like to play Coach Drinkwitz's comments after the game, and then Matt, let's get your thoughts on it.
Matt's favorite.
Well, Coach Drink, that was a game right there. What's going through your mind when your true freshman kickers trotted out there to make that?
I had no doubt. He's nails in practice. He's been nails all day. So awesome for our seniors to go off the way that they are, and just shows that we're changing things around here. Our guys believe, and it's awesome.
Connor Bazelak just continues to impress. We've talked about how nothing rattles that kid at all. What did you say to him prior to that final drive?
Let's go win the game. Let's go win the game. And he nodded his head and said, let's do it. And we did.
Coach, I know at half you said... Coach, I know at half you said you told your team to just relax, come out and play. What else did you tell them?
Just one play at a time, 1-0 mentality. Play the very best you can on this play and don't worry about the next.
You can see how much these guys love you. Nobody picked you guys to get a bunch of wins this year. No. So what is the key to the success with this group?
Believing in each other. It doesn't matter what the outside world says in life at all. It matters what you believe and what you set your expectations for. And our guys expect to win.
Coach, this trophy gets to stay right here in Como. How's that sound?
You're darn right it does.
Congratulations.
Thank you. M-I-Z.
You darn right it does, Matt.
M-I-Z.
What do you got, man? I mean, I can see your thoughts right now, but
Matt, it doesn't matter what the outside world thinks about you.
That's right.
I just want you to remember that. It doesn't.
Please go to Jesse. I need a moment.
I mean, the guy is a walking cliche. Jesse, I want to talk.
Oh my God! What are we doing? Okay, let me interject.
So, are we talking to you now? We're not talking to Jesse.
Yes,
we're talking to you.
Yes, we are. Okay. I got it out.
Okay.
Look, I'm glad. I really am. I'm glad that Missouri won this game because it got me a point. Yay, that's great. If you had told me at the beginning of the season that Arkansas and Missouri would have a better record than Tennessee does, I would have punched you in the head.
Ooh.
But let's point that out that they do have a better record than Tennessee does. So there's that. Second thing here, that whole thing sounded like it was taken straight from a movie script, like from
just like the last
Blues,
one we played.
Yes, the man is a walking cliche. Oh my God,
he reads inspirational quotes.
Coach Drink, if you're a Missouri fan and you're watching this, listen, I don't hate y'all. I really don't. I know it seems that way, but y'all are killing me. Like just so saccharine, man. It's just too sweet. It's just.
I think you're having
cloying.
Butch Jones like flashback.
I know that's exactly what it feels like. And if they somehow find a way to get to 6-3 or 7-3, or however many games we end up actually playing, then we very well may be dealing with another Butch Jones situation. Oh, good Lord. I mean, kudos to Missouri, but oh boy.
Well, they got Georgia next, so hopefully that won't come this next week.
No, they'll be back
if
at
Georgia
500.
does not handle them,
Hey,
listen, I ain't counting nothing until it's happened.
That's true.
Y'all know how weird this year's been. Come on now.
Jesse, what did you think about this game?
As a Bama fan, I am never comfortable when things come down to field goals. Never. It doesn't matter who it is. I just get kind of anxious. Things don't sit right with me. But I was pulling for Arkansas in this. I was hoping that they would be able to pull out this win. I thought it would be a great confidence booster for them and really be a testament to the program and how well they've done and how well they've turned things around. I feel like Arkansas has had it much, much worse than Missouri has. But you got to play defense, number one, and nobody did here. Not that everyone in the SEC is playing defense, because we're certainly not.
A lot of penalties in this game too. 19
penalties,
of them total.
right?
A lot of them.
You should have like maybe 19 penalties on the season, like not in a game. I don't know. There was just, again, kudos to the freshman quarterback that came in. That is not an easy thing to do. And like you said, he still did pretty well. So at least as, an Arkansas fan, you can look and say, hey, maybe we've got a decent guy that can start later on. And maybe this program really is evolving.
Well, and Bazelak, a true freshman with 380 yards, threw it 49 times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's done really well for Mizzou as well. So just lots, like we said, lots of offense to go around in this one. So,
and let's take a second to talk about the fact that Arkansas's defense gave up 27 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
like I
said, they couldn't.
That's a bad look.
They couldn't stop anything. It was terrible to watch. Because like we've said before, we've bragged on Barry Odom and his defense, but man, they just look like Swiss cheese, and it's like, man, what is going on? Is this even the same?
It was
team?
Another example of the winner is the last person to get the ball.
Oh yeah,
and that we've seen it in so many games this season, which we're not used to seeing. We're used to defenses holding people, being stellar on defense, and not as stellar when it comes to offense. But this season, man, it is just whoever gets the ball last, that's who gets it. I mean, Bama did it in the Ole Miss game. We've seen it here. We saw it in the A&M Florida game. It just keeps happening.
It's the new offensive age of football. So, all right, let's get to the next one, which was Florida at Tennessee. Florida winning this one 31-19. I got the point in this one. Matt, I just want to go ahead and start with you. Honestly, 31-19, I think is pretty respectable. I don't know if that's fair to say or not, but you had various quarterbacks in the game, and could you speak a little bit to just the quarterback situation and how each one of those guys did?
Well, I to be completely frank with you, I don't know what to make of any of it. Maybe 31-19's acceptable, but I saw a stat the other day that says that Tennessee's been outscored like 152-14 against Bama, Georgia, Florida, and one of the other teams out of the West. It's just, we can't hang. We haven't been able to hang for a decade now. Quarterback play, fine. It looked okay. Nothing awful, but nothing stands out. And that's kind of the hallmark of Tennessee's quarterback play right now.
Didn't have any turnovers.
Silver lining.
No, he had 2 touchdowns. I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. It feels like it's so inconsistent. We don't have any kind of leadership. And that I'm not talking about just on the field. I'm also talking about on the sideline. I don't know what to make of anything that's going on in that program right now. I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like that's been my go-to answer for the last, 3 or 4 weeks, but that's the way it is. Florida came in, they took care of business. They beat a team that was inferior in every way, shape, or form. Granted, it was close at the half, but then when you look at what they did in the second half versus what we did, it's not the same thing. So,
I mean, it's tough when you're playing a team like Florida, though. I mean, they're up there. They're probably one of the best teams in the country this year. I don't like saying that either as a Georgia fan, but they probably are. So, I mean, that's a rough one to go into. Jesse, did you have any thoughts on this one?
I mean, yeah, I'm looking at stats here. UT finished with 334 total yards, but 161 of them came in the fourth quarter. Yeah. And by then, outcomes kind of been decided. I mean, stay for 4, play for 4, all of that, yes. And their ground game, which has by far been maybe the better part of their offense, they only averaged just 2.4 yards per rush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not great, especially against a Florida defense that we've said is not great. Now their offense is lights out, but defense, but Tennessee, you still put up 19 points. You didn't get completely trashed. Like they didn't score 50 on you. So that's a little encouraging, but
which is what we all picked. I think
exactly.
The only reason that I won is because I had the least differential, and you can see there, I picked 42-21. That means you guys thought it was going to be even more of a nuke. So, I mean, I thought it was respectable. I didn't.
What did y'all think? Or did you even notice? Because I was reading some stories too, that Mullen lit into Todd Grantham on the sideline.
Oh, he went after him. Yeah. I saw that video. He took after him like he was a pack of dogs on a 3-legged cat. Like he went to town.
Which is funny because Grantham, he's a little crazy. So I'd be careful of the things you say to him as well. I mean, I'm sure he was upset, but I'd be watching my back.
His defense didn't do that bad, aside from allowing a 96-yard scoring drive in the first half. Florida's defense did not do bad.
Right.
I mean, maybe he needed a little tongue lashing on the sideline, but they didn't do that bad. And I would love to hear that audio.
As I think I heard, I don't know if it was last week, maybe it was the week before, but they were asking him what he was saying on the sidelines, and it was just like, he's a put up the lights before Thanksgiving kind of guy. I'm not. We had a disagreement. We talked about it. We talked it out, and we're good now.
Put up the lights before Thanksgiving.
The political answers and the coach speak, is always going to prevail. So I didn't think. Go ahead.
Does Mullen seem like a little bit of a hothead to you guys?
Like,
I
feel like
it's got. Okay,
he seems a bit.
Right, a lot of it.
He seems a bit unstable.
Oh, right. It seems like it's gotten a lot worse. Like I don't remember seeing him go off the rails like that in Mississippi State.
Well, it also could be the tighter microscope too.
Muschamp was nuttier than a crap house rat when he was a coordinator.
Like, I know,
he's always been
but I feel like, and maybe it's just because as a head coach you see it more. But I feel like he got nuttier down there.
He was a nutso in Carolina.
Yeah, but Carolina came after.
I feel like for some of these bigger jobs, we see more of it though too. And I don't know. I don't remember. Mullen didn't annoy me at Mississippi State, but I also didn't have to look at him near as much either because we didn't play him, every year. So,
I mean,
and plus teams in the West,
we
did,
like,
oh, that's cute, but no, I don't worry about you because you're not in my division.
We played him a decent amount, but I don't ever remember being like, oh, Dan Mullen's insane.
Yeah,
I didn't really think about him.
Maybe you have to have a different attitude when you're in Gainesville. Maybe I don't know if that's part of it or. Comes with a job.
I was gonna say maybe it's the heat, but Mississippi's really hot too, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
What are they putting in the Gatorade?
Yeah, he's a different dude, and man, just the stuff where he starts nitpicking on stuff, and I'm like, dude, just I get that every coach does it, but sometimes when he does it, it seems like he's just trying to be that way, just to be perceived as a perfectionist. And I'm like, dude, it's just fine, just let it go. And I know I'm a Georgia fan. I'm going to say that, but whatever. All right. Speaking of Georgia, the Vanderbilt-Georgia game didn't happen. It was postponed at the last minute because Vandy had too few players consistent with COVID regulations. So they had that going on up there. So a little disappointed we didn't get to see Sarah Fuller in this one. But maybe next week we'll see. We'll see if they get to play Tennessee, right? Yeah. So. We'll see if that happens.
If Tennessee loses to Vanderbilt, I might go crazy.
We might not be able to have a show next week.
Let's get there because
more crazy than usual. Because if that happens,
yeah. I mean, you know, you never know with everything going on. The game may not even happen. So,
You're exactly right.
South Carolina at Kentucky was the next game last week, and Kentucky won this one 41-18. I won in a tiebreaker with Matt. We discussed that earlier. Matt was very angry. So
I wasn't angry. I was just questioning your antics, your shenanigans, Wes.
Right. If you want, we can sit down and we can go over it together. I don't want there to be any perceived. I don't want there to be any perceived cheating going on here. So, yeah. But when you turn the ball over 4 times and you give up two 100-yard rushers, Chris Rodriguez Jr. for Kentucky with 139 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Asim Rose Jr. with 101 yards and 1 touchdown. When you do those 2 things, you're not even going to be in contention in the game, and that's what South Carolina did. So, you know, credit to Kentucky, though. I mean, you know, they did what they needed to do. They pushed people around on the line, tons of yards. South Carolina, I mean, you had Harris with 210 yards on the ground by himself, but like other than that, they weren't really doing much. So, you know, it wasn't good for Carolina. Jesse, let's start with you on this one. I don't, you know, obviously Carolina's got other news, you know, focusing on this week, but what were your thoughts on this game?
I feel like Carolina, not that I necessarily blame them, but I feel like they've kind of given up.
A little bit
at this point. And yeah, your coach is gone. You're dealing with a pandemic. You're sitting here wondering, am I going to stay in this program? Am I going to join the transfer portal? They're trying to figure out at this point who their next coach is going to be. There's a lot going on. Like, I get it. But at the same time, this is kind of sloppy. The sloppy play, again, not to take away from Kentucky. Kentucky came in and executed, and we've seen it before. When you're supposed to come in and beat a team, sometimes you don't execute, you get lazy, and you don't do what you're supposed to do. Good on Kentucky for going in there and doing it. But again, you're beating South Carolina. It's not like something to just hang your hat on.
Right. Matt, what are your thoughts?
I feel for Carolina. I really do. They're in a real bad spot right now. To get drummed by a 4-6 UK team, it's not a good look. The optics on that are pretty bad. Again, no defense to speak of here. 400+ yards for both teams. I'm trying to figure out how you get 404 yards on the ground and in the air and only score 18 points, because that seems pretty ridiculous to me. I don't get that.
You turn the ball over 4 times. That's what happens.
So that's a solid point. You get all the way down there and then you turn it over. 1
interception, 4 fumbles, and 3 of those lost. Yeah, so
it makes me feel good to see Terry Wilson get some good looks there, because I like the kid. He's got some moxie to him. Again, I wish this Kentucky team was a little bit better. It'd be nice to see somebody other than Georgia and Florida in contention for the East, but here we are. So
yeah,
I'm just wondering where does Carolina go from here? Because I mean, they still got to play. Who they got left on their schedule? They still got. Are they done?
Let's see. This week,
yeah,
they don't have any reschedules.
Yeah, I guess it really just depends on how stuff shakes out with the rescheduled games.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think they had to reschedule.
They didn't. Them and Kentucky both played all 10 games, I think.
Yeah,
so that means they're finished. So now the question is, what happens with their coaching hire?
Right. Well, so we'll definitely have a chance to talk about that, and you know, might be exciting times for fans. There's a big name headed to Carolina. We'll talk about in a little bit. You know, maybe not necessarily a big name himself, but his last name is a big name. So anyway, next we had Bama at LSU. Bama winning this one in a ridiculous display of just stomping them into a mud hole. 55-17. Jesse getting the point with this one. She beat Matt by 1 point, by the way, in the differential. So
unacceptable.
So close. But yeah, I would really like to hear your thoughts, Jesse, because I feel like this is like a track that's on loop every week. It's like beat down, new team, beat down, new team, I mean, it's just kind of like the same thing every week. What are your thoughts?
This one was great because this was revenge. We were so close last year. and to go into Death Valley and be able to do this is so exciting, even if they are terrible this season. But I was in the mountains, and the house we're staying at had Dish. And I don't know if you guys know this. I didn't. Dish doesn't get CBS. They just don't.
Did you have an
it's
antenna?
Game time. No. So it's game time. We're rocking. We're rolling. I'm ready. I watched the Alabama LSU game on an iPad mini.
Well, I guess at least you could watch
The
it.
big screen is up, and I'm just like still screaming. It was insane. I'm gonna be that person because it's on replay, and I know we all know, but I'm just gonna say it. This score should be 55-10 because one of those touchdowns wasn't a touchdown.
Jesse, come on.
He dropped.
It's
the
55-17. It's a single touchdown.
I don't care. My cat is offended.
Hold on now.
I heard that.
Hold on a minute.
I heard
so you're telling me you're gonna get bent out of shape about a touchdown when you beat them 55-17.
I would have liked to beat them 55-10 because that's not a touchdown.
That is the most on-brand Alabama thing I've ever heard you say.
I heard
I was yelling, and
oh my god!
The only justification for that was they recovered it in the end zone, right? Isn't that what they said?
So yeah, this is the thing. He dropped it before walking over the line.
Right.
That is a coaching moment. Take that moment and be like, son, you don't drop it till you have touched the seats on the other side.
So I saw it in real time. When it happened, I was like, they need to go back and look at that because that dude dropped it before he went in the end zone.
Yep, that's what we said. We're like, I don't think, did he? And then they backed it up and we're like, oh no, he didn't. Yeah. Guys, any college football player, high school football player, whoever you are, do not drop the ball until you are through the end zone. I don't understand how that happens. I don't get it. Just don't do it. So I digress. We still won. But I think the big story out of this one, and I'm sure you guys know where I'm going with this, Devontae Smith. Can we just talk about him?
Who?
Don't even play with me like this. Wow.
He's the center, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Nose guard. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's him. Big fan.
Left out.
Yeah, big fan. He 8 receptions, 231 yards, absolutely unstoppable. Again, I get it. It's LSU, but all season, everyone was concerned about Jalen Waddle's going to be out. What are we going to do? That might be over for Bama.
David Pollock said you guys are done, is what he said.
I'm looking at you, David. He's just so dynamic. His hands are so good. People have now started coming out, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too, because it's not just on Bama stuff. There's an argument for Heisman there. I don't think he'll get it, but I think there's a really good argument. Yeah. But I also think, and of course we want Jalen to get better. Absolutely. But I think now this has allowed Devontae more opportunity to catch more balls and to make an argument. I think he might have gone second round, maybe third. I think he's a first round draft pick now. Yeah. I think this season has solidified him as a first round draft pick.
Well, he had to shoulder that burden. And I think he absolutely should be in the Heisman race because it seems like consistently we're looking at 2/3 of Mac Jones' stats seem to be to him. And it's like, he's had to step up and he has big time. And I know there's others in the conversation. You've got, to me, there's big three. There's Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, and I think Devontae Smith should be in that top 3. But then, there's others with Ian Book and Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and et cetera, et cetera. But man, I think he deserves a spot in the top 3. I mean, because I think, like we said, or like I just said,
he's a game changer. Yeah.
I mean, he's literally picked up the slack that was left there and has put the team on his shoulders and said, look, dude. And here's the thing. Mac Jones has already proven that he's pretty accurate. However, Saturday night, Devontae Smith showed us that you can basically just throw the ball somewhere in the area and he's going to make the catch.
My favorite meme was it's a Mac Jones one, and it said, "Screw it, Smitty's down there somewhere."
And just And I think there was another one that was like a painting, and it was like "Hang it in the Louvre," of a painting of him doing the one hand.
It didn't matter. He just gets it.
Yeah.
Najee Harris had a great game as well. Not as dynamic as Devontae Smith. 21 carries, 145 yards rushing, 3 yards receiving.
Don't forget those.
Just seemed like LSU's defense could not shut down any lane that we opened.
Not the first time we've said that this year.
Right. One stat that I did like was Bama's 55 points were the most for either team in the history of the series, which dates all the way back to 1895. The previous high was by the Tide with 47 points in 1922.
Matt, don't go to sleep.
I'm just waiting.
I do have another question for you, Jesse, though. Do you think that this game and this score was a little bit of a payback for last year and Coach O's statements about, we're going to whip their butt in recruiting, we're going to blah, blah, blah. And just basically, and I know that was the clip that wasn't necessarily meant for public consumption, but still it made it out.
Yep.
And ruffled some feathers.
CBS, I loved their headline. It was perfection. Alabama versus LSU score takeaways. Number 1 Tide lock up SEC West with historic 55-17 evisceration. Of the Tigers.
That was a $5 word right there.
I don't know how many times he had to find similes for demolish, but evisceration, I like it.
Yeah. Well, I found one final thing that I think you'll like, Jesse, and that's Saban's post-game press conference, and they were talking to him a little bit about his time coming back, and obviously when he was out and missed with COVID and stuff like that, and just his thoughts on that.
Yeah, Coach, just for you, how happy were you to be back with the team and back on the sideline after missing last week?
I was really pleased. It's funny. I was really tough adaptation to stay home and do everything from home. And then I felt actually sort of out of place, going to work. But it didn't take long. I mean, it was about 15 minutes and I fit right back in. Miss Terry wasn't on me anymore, and I was able to get on other people in the office. So it was good. And, it was great to be back with the players. And I really appreciated the fact that several of the players were, happy to see me back. So
not all, just
good.
Several.
It was all good.
And it was good. It was all good.
I listened to that press conference yesterday. Love that he's like, Miss Terry wasn't on me anymore.
Yeah.
Love Miss Terry. She's an angel. He's like, several of the players were happy to see me. Not all of them.
I know that is pretty funny. He's just like, well, yeah.
I got to get on to some people in the office.
Yeah,
I
love how that's what brings him joy, is the fact that he could be back in the office and get on to some people. But one thing that I found funny is that he's been out for literally a week, right? And he's like, it felt weird going back to work. It was out of place. I was like, dude, you weren't gone for 6 months. You were gone for a week. I didn't really understand that.
But I mean, he's not missed any games. He's not missed what 600. He's had
it's 43 years, right? It's something ridiculous.
And then he's like, I have to be home.
I guess when you're that consistent, it does feel like 6 months.
Yeah. He's just what an angel from heaven.
Yeah. Matt, what you can barely contain your excitement, Matt. I
just don't get how the man recruits. He sounds like he's trying to sell you insurance.
Because he does the Cuban shuffle in your living room.
God almighty dang. Bama's going to do Bama things. LSU's awful. I mean,
I think I told you guys this story before about my favorite Nick Saban recruiting story, but I'm bringing it back because it's worth it. In short,
you've already lost Matt.
I know, but he was in a 5-star.
Tired of talking about Bama.
He looked at a 5-star recruit in his living room who was between Bama and somebody else. And he was like, you know, I want you to come to Bama, obviously. And the kid's like, yeah, it's between you and, you know, whoever. And he was like, let me just tell you. He's like, there's a 3-star recruit. He goes, you're a 5-star, but there's a 3-star recruit. And he said, if you don't come to Bama, I will take that 3-star recruit and I will make him better than you. And he does. Like, he can say that because he does it. That's how he recruits. You don't have to be nice and personable and super, you know, in people's faces and lovely. You just have to show up, win, and people want to go there and put people in the NFL.
I can tell that we've been praising Alabama too much because Matt's eyes are glazing over, and not that I enjoy praising Alabama either. I'm just saying, you know, whatever.
I do.
So yeah, I had no
tired.
idea.
I'm tired.
I had no idea.
Listen, it's been years. We've been doing this for years. I was so excited last year. I was like, oh, LSU, this is new, brand new shiny toy. Ooh, looky, this is going to be great. And then after 6 months, it falls apart.
Yeah,
it was a very gilded toy.
Yeah, it was, and
now we're back to the Bama story. Ooh, yeah, Bama.
Doesn't it seem like there's some kind of like weird time loop going on that we're just stuck in the same thing that happens every year?
Let's do the time warp again.
Yeah, it's just it's an odd thing. All right, let's get out of here and let's talk about this week's news.
Here's the news.
All right, so this
week. Aren't you glad you don't have to hear me try to do that?
It was epic, though. I appreciate your efforts. So, fresh off the presses, this week's CFP rankings. Number one. Yeah, tell me about it. Number 1, Alabama at 9-0. Number 2, Notre Dame at 10-0. Number 13, Clemson at 9-1. Number 14, Ohio State 5-0. Texas A&M, we're coming back to that. Texas A&M, number 5 at 7-1. Number 6, Florida 8-1. Number 7, Iowa State at 9-2, and number 8, Cincinnati at 8-0. Number 9, Georgia, who dropped 2 below Cincinnati and Iowa State, by the way, at 6-2, and then number 10, Miami at 8-1, and then our last SEC team, number 25, Missouri, sneaking in there at the edge. So. I don't really know what to say. I mean, I don't know what would happen if Georgia would play Iowa State or Cincinnati, but I think I have a pretty good idea. And I don't understand it. I don't get it. And Georgia is penalized. And Matt, you can appreciate this. We didn't play this weekend, and we didn't lose. And we dropped 2 spots. I'm like,
you guys should have found a high school to play.
We should have
played them, beat them, and then you have an argument against Cincinnati.
Exactly.
I mean, Ohio State's been doing that for years, so why not y'all, right?
Especially this year.
They're going to play 5 games.
Yeah. Unless a miracle happens this coming weekend. We'll talk about that too.
No, wait. What are you talking about? They still got to play the Big Ten championship.
No.
I promise you they'll find a way not to.
We'll see. So here's the thing, and I'm not sure if I'm getting ahead of myself or not, but, you know, the requirement that the Big Ten athletic directors made at the beginning of the season was you have to play 6 games to play in the Big Ten championship. Well, they won't if everything holds true this weekend. Michigan obviously has some COVID cases, and so they're not going to be able to play. Now, they could shuffle some stuff around where they could play another team. Maybe they could play Indiana again. I don't know. But
can they play Cincinnati? I know they're not in conference, but can we just throw that in there?
They're within the state, so
it's in Ohio.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've about had enough of Ohio State in there with literally Notre Dame has played twice as many games. And you know how I feel about Notre Dame, but they've played twice as many games.
I prefer Notre Dame right now.
Mm-hmm. They've played twice as many.
I don't.
And Alabama's got 4 more games. Clemson, 4 more games. I mean, most of these teams, a ridiculous amount of games, and you have this tiny sample size for Ohio State. You're like, yeah, throw them in there. I don't get it. I thought that with the announcement of the possibility that Ohio State may not play this weekend, that they may just
no way they'd be top 4.
Yeah, I don't. I'll see what we get to in the rest of the show because we have an entire segment devoted to this, but or at least to Ohio State. But I just don't get it. I don't get it. Next, we have Ohio. I got Ohio State on the brain. South Carolina hires Oklahoma assistant head coach and tight ends coach Shane Beamer as its new head coach. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, he's kind of untested, but big name. His father, Frank, obviously a legend.
Beamer ball.
So he's already said that he's going to find any excuse to bring Pops down to kind of help him out with the program. So you never know.
He could do like Lane. He could do like Lane did back when Lane was at Tennessee and make his dad the defensive coordinator.
There you go.
He could do that. Yeah.
I mean, it worked. I mean, for anyway.
So
they at least have a coach. That's something.
That's true. And
do you think they went ahead and fired Muschamp because they had Beamer in their back pocket?
I don't know. I
don't even know.
That doesn't seem like a home run hire to me.
No,
it seems
I feel like they were just like, leave, just get out.
Yeah,
go on, get.
Well, and also it seems like they were wanting to go ahead and get ahead of the coaching carousel. So when people become available, we want to have that spot open. So,
so here's the question: if Shane Beamer's the head coach in Carolina, we don't have to worry about Freeze to Carolina now. Do we still have to worry about Freeze to somewhere in the SEC?
Man, I would be shocked if
who else is going to fire their head coach? Why would he take Vandy?
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Do we want to know the tea about Vandy?
Oh yes, please.
Tea?
Guys,
please spill the tea.
Hold on. What
about Vandy?
Tea?
The tea. It's Georgia
I don't even know what it is.
and Vandy tea. It's Georgia Vandy tea.
Oh, okay.
It's a blend, if you will.
Ooh.
So
I feel like this needs to be a segment,
right,
where Jesse spills the tea.
I will spill so much tea. But thanks to Jack Lunam, we've had him on the show before, for tipping me off to this, because I don't follow Dogs on Top. I don't.
You should.
But rumor has it, per reports, UGA strength and conditioning coach Scott Cochran has thrown his hat in the ring and is pushing hard to land the Vanderbilt head coach position. While it may be considered a long shot at this time, it is believed that legitimate interest could be there due to his history and connections. Cochran also reportedly interviewed for the Southern Miss job, and while it went well, they ultimately went with the Tulane offensive coordinator, Will Hall.
That would be an interesting
jump.
That would be an interesting jump for him, going from strength and conditioning for years and years and years to where he's like the special teams coach this year.
Studied under Saban, was under for years.
If that's all the credentials
was
you
under
need.
Kirby.
Yeah.
He's if anything, he's explosive.
He is that.
And motivating, which might be the turn in attitude that Vandy needs. And he does have connections to some really powerful programs, could probably hire stuff like a hell of a offensive and defensive coordinator.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, if he did,
long shot.
If he did, I wouldn't hate it. I mean, I obviously I want him to stay. He would be great to stay at Georgia, but you know, if he wants to further himself, and you know, you can't be a position coach or strength and conditioning coach for forever.
You could be at what he makes.
Especially, well, I know, but if you have those aspirations, then I wouldn't want to hold the guy back. So whatever, it is what it is. If he wants to take it, go for it. You know, we'll see what happens. So
that would be
Matt. I see the wheels in your head turning.
I just don't know as an athletic director how you go from hiring, like, it's just a strength and conditioning coach. Like, that just doesn't compute. Like, we were confused when Sam Pittman got offered the head job at Arkansas because he was the O-line coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that makes more sense than the strength and conditioning
but
coach.
He's not doing that.
Has nothing to do with the on-field product.
Yeah,
directly at least. I mean,
as you said, he's a motivator.
It would be weird, but it's 2020.
Maybe
listen. I feel, and this will give you an idea how much this doesn't make sense to me. I feel like Butch Jones would be a better hire than a strength and conditioning coach. At least he has experience.
Unless he's going to be hired to be like the figurehead and just the hype man. Because if there's anything that Scott Cochran can do, it's hype people up. So
whoa.
That makes
I
sense.
have been in pro days with that man, and it's just mind blowing. Like, I don't know how his vocal cords are not shredded. I don't know. And you can't understand him. You don't know what he's yelling at you.
Shouted so much though. He has like that permanent, like gravelly voice, right? Just from
he would make a great alarm clock. Like if you just want to record him really quick, and then that's your alarm every day, because he's like, let's go, and you're like, oh, okay.
I'm sure there's
jarring.
There's a clip somewhere that you could probably grab for your phone or whatever. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Matt,
I don't know how you do that. Like, your football team already is having issues.
It's not going to get worse.
This is true. Record-wise, literally can't do worse.
It's not going to get worse.
And he could probably recruit well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know.
It's a long shot. Like I said, it's totally a long shot, but a very interesting point or, thought to have.
Yeah.
And if he genuinely is interested in pushing for it and is already interviewed for head coaching jobs.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Is there, Matt, do you have something else?
No, I'm flabbergasted. I thought I understood how college football worked, but apparently I don't.
2020.
I mean, it's
all you gotta
this
say.
Has been the weirdest absolute year.
It's just 2020.
Jesse, is there
I think
any
I need
more
to start pulling for teams in the ACC.
There's just a little bit more tea, and it's not necessarily SEC tea. It's just college football tea that I thought, given the text conversation we had today about maybe things you don't want to say or post on Twitter.
Yeah.
Another one. So this is coming from Louisville, and this is coming from their coach. And he said, talking about balancing commitments and how players and coaches are different, says players are there and don't have family. Coaches have families to consider. Players have to be all in. Coaches have a career to consider. Outside of a brief apology to fans, this presser hasn't been very encouraging to Louisville fans. Satterfield says the main thing he learned is that if he's going to look at a job, he needs to be all in on it. Saying that it's harder to be a coach because you have to worry about your family than it is to be a player, and they're just different.
Wow.
It's apples to oranges. I feel like you can't compare them.
I just wouldn't say that as a coach.
No, I wouldn't either.
Say that. Those things you don't want to say.
Not a good look for sure. I mean, you want to come off as empathetic, not whatever that was. Like, forget you.
There's a term for it, Wes. We can't say it on the podcast.
Like, just be respectful. You set that. We've talked about it before. As a coach, you set the tone.
Right. And
if you are not seeming like you're respecting the sacrifices that those players are making to play, I mean, I get it. They get to go to school for free for the most part. Most of them do, but they don't have a normal college life. And they're quite literally banking on this opportunity and putting their bodies at risk so that they can make it to a next level and support themselves or families and all that, whatever. Just maybe keep that in mind, coach.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm dumbfounded at that one.
Also, thank you to Jack for that little tidbit. Jack just had all the tea for me this morning. So
it's awesome. Our reporter from the front lines, Jack Lunam.
Our man on the inside.
The man on the inside of Twitter.
Appreciate that. So, all right. Next, we have just a little bit of news regarding some games here. Ole Miss at Texas A&M postponed. According to a statement from the SEC, postponement is a result of a combination of positive tests and contact tracing within the Ole Miss program. Rescheduling the game will be contingent on any cancellation of games currently scheduled for December 19th. A&M is scheduled to face Tennessee, and Ole Miss is scheduled to play LSU on that Saturday. The loss of the Ole Miss game would leave number 5 Texas A&M with a maximum of 9 regular season games in its playoff resume. The Aggies' only loss is to number 1 Alabama. So,
Do you know how much the world's going to melt down if Ohio State with like 6 wins gets over a 9?
You mean 5?
8?
You mean just
8,
5?
Whatever. Over an 8-win Texas A&M team with their one loss being to the number 1 team in the nation. You hate to see that chaos, but it would be so much fun to watch the fallout.
I would revolt for the Aggies for that.
And that's saying a lot.
That's how much I don't believe Ohio State deserves to be in that spot. I would pull for the Aggies.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's insane. So
We'll
talk more.
They're setting this up for Ohio State to be in this thing, regardless of what's going to happen.
And we'll talk about that in the next segment, which I'm really excited about because it's a lot. And then finally, a bit of good news here. Jalen Hurts named Eagles starter for this coming week. So kudos to Jalen. He's made the rounds. You know, he's been on a circuitous journey in college and in the pros, and it's cool to see a guy like him get his chance. So that's awesome. Hope he does well.
He has great character. He just really does.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, let's
more Bama knob polishing. Go ahead, Wes.
He finished at Oklahoma.
I'm sorry. It's every time we turn around, man. It's every single time.
He finished at Oklahoma.
You know, the only reason we're talking about him though is because he was at Bama.
Come on now. Come on.
You even know you can't not like Jalen Hurts.
Look, I got nothing against the kid personally. Just saying. It's great.
I love that we're taking this energy into the opinion segment because we need it. So let's go ahead and
I have so much energy for this
and talk about the opinion.
Sir, if I may venture an opinion.
I'm not really interested in your opinion, 3PO.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right, so there's like
Wes didn't even wait for the clip to stop. He's like, I got to go.
there's like 8 different scenarios with this thing, and I'm sure I'm going to miss one of them. So forgive me if I forget some kind of crazy scenario that could happen here. But Michigan, Ohio State canceled Saturday in wake of COVID-19 cases with the Wolverines. Coach Ryan Day says that the Big Ten athletic directors need to take. I'm sorry, I can't even get through this. They need to
Wes, you need me to read it.
They need to take a long look at this to make sure they made the right decision when in regards to the minimum 6 games. And I'm just cracking up because it's like I picture everybody sitting around the table at the beginning of the year going, "This is a great idea. I think we should at least have 6 games." And then when your best team gets left out, you're like, I think we need to reevaluate. I mean,
we should at least have 4. We meant 4.
Just 4.
In addition, if another Big Ten game for Saturday were to be canceled, the conference could move around games in an effort to get Ohio State to play. If Purdue, which canceled practice Tuesday to evaluate its latest COVID-19 testing, had to cancel against Indiana, the Big Ten could move around games or have Indiana, Ohio State play again. If the conference were not
the Hoosiers
to alter its rules and Ohio State were not to play Saturday, Indiana would be the East Division's representative in the conference championship game. Now, I know you're saying, Wes, that's not an opinion. Those are just statements. Here's the opinion. If Ohio State does not play another game and thus cannot play in the Big Ten championship unless they change that, then they should be automatically disqualified from the playoff discussion and possibly even the CP rankings as a whole. I mean, like, I don't need, how are you going to evaluate a team that's basically played half the number of games that most of these other teams have? So, and if that's the case, they've only played 5 games. They will have only played 5 games. Here's a fun side note before we talk about it more. Ohio State and Texas A&M's games both have been canceled due to COVID affecting their opponents. This is number 4 and number 5. I'm looking at you scheduling people. Make it happen. Number 4 versus number 5. It's not going to, of course, but man, that'd be like a qualifier before the qualifier, right? So,
I don't think either team would agree to that either.
Yeah, probably not.
It doesn't do either team a benefit to play that game.
But
I don't know. Jimbo Fisher is just wild enough that he might be like, "Let's do it."
Yeah, I mean, he's wild. I don't know. He probably would. I don't know. But
Ohio State would be like, "No, we can't. COVID. There's just too much COVID. We can't. Just COVID."
Jesse, let's go ahead and start with you. So this one on Ohio State, like, should they be disqualified from the playoff conversation? I knew that was your
Yes,
answer,
we
but
said
I just
it in the
wanted to hear
beginning.
it.
We're like, they're going to cheat their way in somehow. They're going to get together as the Big Ten. And they're going to be like, well, we just really want equal representation across the country. You made a rule, and just because you don't like how it's faring for you, you can't just go back and change it. Everyone else has made this work. Everyone else decided we're going to play this many games. We're going to do this. We're going to start here. They made it work. Just because you didn't have the same plan and you noticed that it wasn't working out for you, you don't get to go back and change it. And I'm sorry, COVID happens, but somehow other conferences have been able to adjust and make it happen and play and find other people to play. Get a soccer player. I don't care. Figure it out. And if you can't figure it out without changing the rules, you don't deserve to be there. Because if you quite literally have to change the rules, you don't deserve it. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all.
And let's think about this in terms of past years. So the past couple of years, Ohio State has looked like a great team, but they've had that one game where they've lost by a ton to Purdue, or they lost by however much to Iowa State. And it looked like a great team, but they had an off game. Well, I mean, the nice thing about not playing any games is you don't have that off game. But look, this is how it's going to go down, and you can quote me on this. The Big Ten is going to go back on what their original agreement was, because they know that their best chance to get a Big Ten team in the playoffs is obviously Ohio State. So
they should have snagged Notre Dame when they had the chance.
They should have, but they're going to go back on
Notre Dame
their
plays
agreement.
Hockey in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
should have snagged them.
But they're going to go back on it, and they're going to make sure that Ohio State gets a game this weekend. Somehow, some way, either they're going to go back on it, or they will go out of their way to make sure that Ohio State gets a game this weekend, just so they can play in that
or
championship
what they'll
game.
do, because I can see them being like, well, we can't play on Saturday, but this random Tuesday at 2:00, we're going to pull the boys out. They're going to go to the practice field, and we're going to have somebody come over and play. They're going to do something weird, and it's going to really annoy me and be really mad. I'm going to hate them more than I do. And I am going to say it now. A&M deserves to be in that 4th spot over Ohio State.
I mean, they've won more games.
You know what? They've won more games, and I get that Florida lost to A&M, but I'd probably say Florida deserves to be in that 4th spot.
Yeah. Well, I guess the committee right now is putting A&M ahead just because of that head-to-head, and that's all. But
yeah.
Matt, what do you think about the whole Ohio State thing?
Allow me to play devil's advocate for a minute.
No. Don't.
No. I'm going to. I'm going to.
Please
listen. You cannot have. You could not have a discussion about a national championship without including Ohio State in some extent.
Get out right now.
No, let me finish.
I can't tell if he's kidding.
No,
I know he's
let
kidding.
Me finish.
No, he's being that guy. He's doing it.
No, let me finish. So you can't because thank you, Ross Pro. So the fact of the matter is that Ohio State's always in that mix. Always in that mix. A lot of that has to do with the legacy bias, as we like to call it, and that concept of including the teams, the blue chips that need to be in those situations.
The Kool-Aid.
Let them in. Let them in. You want to let them in? Let them in. That's fine. But let them in as one of 8 teams that you let in the playoff.
Fair.
Because here's what's going to happen. If you have an 8-team playoff, leave Ohio State at 4. That means they play what? 6th seed? Isn't that usually how that works? Then 4 plays 6, 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 5. Something like that.
In an 8 team, it would be 1, 8, 2, 7. Yeah.
So let them in. So let them in. So let's say they stay at 4. That means they would play Florida.
No, when they play A&M?
They'd play A&M first.
They play A&M.
As things are currently.
So exactly. So that's exactly my point. So if you want to include them, sure, go right ahead. But you need to expand the playoff, and you need to make sure that you expose Ohio State, because Ohio State's going to get reamed. Let's get something straight here. A football team starts at the beginning of the season, and they look drastically different by the end of that season. Things get more streamlined. Injuries happen. Those two teams at the front of the season and the back of the season are two separate teams. You're taking Ohio State and cutting all that development in half. Do you really think Ohio State's going to be able to hang in that case? Nope. So sure, go ahead and include them in the CFP. But when they get beat 56-3 in the first bloody round of the playoff, you can't come complaining.
Yeah,
I'd be down for 8 teams. I'm okay with that.
See, so that's what I'm telling you. That's the fix. If the committee doesn't want to play this mishmash, we don't know what to do situation, you make 8 teams. Heck, even expand it to 10. Just say screw it and do 5 different games. What's it going to matter? 1 and 2 get a bye. Fine, who cares? But it doesn't benefit anybody at this point. If you're going to exclude an SEC team that's played twice as many games to include them, it doesn't make sense.
right.
So go ahead, have an 8-team playoff. Let's see what happens.
Auburn's won how many games? 5?
Perfect year for it. Perfect year for it. It's an asterisk year, like we've been saying since September. In the long run, this year doesn't really count.
Yeah, and yes, Jesse, Auburn's won 5 games.
So Auburn's won more games than Ohio State. Who else has what? Mizzou, maybe?
Florida. Mizzou's won 5 games. Georgia's won 6 games. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just trying to think of the not so great ones. But
yeah,
they've won more than Ohio State. No,
or at least
more,
the same.
But they've won more. So again, we're going back to portfolio play. Submit what you want.
I don't want to just pile on Ohio State here, because let's not forget that the ACC did the same.
Let's pile on Ohio State.
No, hold on. Hold on. Instead of not piling on, I'm going to pile on more on other teams, because
that's fun.
Clemson and Notre Dame have already done this in the ACC, where they basically just said, okay, that final game of the season, that game that we're going to play and that reschedule game that we were going to play, we're not going to do those. And we're just going to rest up and get ready for the ACC championship, which, I mean, they're skipping games as well, just because they want to. And everybody else outside of the ACC is scratching their heads like, what? But again, they want their teams in. So they're like, obviously a game played, even if it's unnecessary, is a chance for a loss. Let's or a chance for injury, not just losing, but maybe somebody could get injured in those games as well. So
Miami's won more than Ohio State.
It's super frustrating. You have these conferences and you can watch everybody's playing their little game of chess and trying to get their teams. Each conference is playing that game, trying to get their teams in position to get in that discussion. And they're gonna do whatever they can to make it happen. And you're right, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be a choice. It should be, okay, all this stuff we agreed upon, we're gonna do it. But 2020, so we'll see what happens for that. So let's go ahead and get to our listener feedback segment and see what we got.
You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
All right, our first user feedback we have was from Mitch, and he says A&M is getting their money out of Jimbo, and he now has that program ahead of Auburn. So, Jesse, I see an eyebrow raised there. However, when I got to the part of the program being ahead of Auburn, what do you think about that?
Is that hard?
I'm not saying that that's where they ultimately want to be, but I mean,
yes, you're ahead of Auburn, but this year's Auburn isn't necessarily one I'd be like, we're ahead of Auburn.
Yeah,
cool.
I think that's fair too. I guess depending on who you compare yourself with.
But also, Jimbo Fisher is getting that A&M team further this year than I thought they would, 100%. However, they put a lot of money into him.
Yeah.
Like a lot. So I would need, if I were an A&M fan, I'd need at least another 2 years to be like, we got our money out of that man.
Right.
And you still, you want to get into the playoff. You still got to find a way to get into the playoff. In my opinion, for you to get $10 million out of him.
Oh yeah. Matt, your thoughts on Jimbo?
I think Jimbo's doing what he needed to this year. If you had made that statement last year, the year before, I still think the jury's out on Jimbo. I think he's had some breaks go their way. I'm still not sold on A&M. Of course, it's hard to be sold on any team right now with the way things are. The only team top to bottom that looks like they're unbeatable is Bama. So I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're getting their money out of him, but I mean, he's definitely doing well this year.
I hope they do.
I'll give him that. Yeah,
that's a lot of money to spend. I hope you get your money out of him.
The amount that they're shelling out for him, I mean, they better. So, and then next we have D. Hogan, who says a few different things. He said, first of all, Bama, Florida will be great. And then second of all, Bo Nix is not being a good passenger on the Gus bus. That was funny. And
Can
then
that be the name of the episode?
not being a good passenger on the Gus bus.
Yeah.
And then his final thought was, we're deprived of seeing Sarah Fuller. So I don't know, Matt, did you have any thoughts on any of those three things or all of them?
When we get ready to talk about the SEC championship game, I'll have more thoughts to say about this, but I don't think Florida's going to be able to hang with Bama.
Yeah.
Bo Nix is not a good bet.
So I don't think that game's going to be as great as Mr. Hogan or Mrs. Hogan or Miss Hogan believes that's going to be. I think that game's going to be a bloodbath. Personally, that's just me. Florida's defense isn't that great. What I'm saying.
Jesse, your thoughts? Obviously,
I'm giggling
comical.
over that. I think that's so great.
It's a great one.
And I hope Bama, Florida is great, but I hope it's great in my definition of great, as in like 55-12. It won't be.
Totally see that score.
I don't think it will be, but I would be much more comfortable if it was.
So isn't the last time Bama, Florida faced each other was when Tebow won? Wasn't that the last time?
I think the last time was when we beat him.
Was it? I
think when we made him cry.
I know y'all played
it was
twice.
The tears. Let me
I couldn't remember what the order was.
We did. We lost the first time.
Hold on, I'm looking.
One of those was the year of the promise or whatever that speech is called.
The what?
Yeah.
You know, the Tebow press conference promise of
you'll
never see.
But I think the last time.
I'm sorry.
What? Wait a minute. What was that, Wes? He turned into like it turned into like Nacho Libre there for a second. I played quarterback at the University of Florida. 2016 was the last time Florida and Bama played for the SEC championship.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. MVP of that game was linebacker Reuben Foster.
Yeah.
I love watching him play.
Final score was 54-16.
Yep, not close.
So, not at all.
Yeah, we'll definitely have lots to say about that when that gets here. And then finally, we have Ralph Warren said, Bama so far is superior. Florida has a quarterback. Mizzou, Ole Miss, and Arkansas are competitive. Yeah, so, I mean, that's fair. I mean, we're seeing some teams do well this year that have been kind of in the cellar, as it were, in the past few years. Did you guys have any thoughts on any of that or any of those statements? I mean, Jesse, I know you agree with Bama being superior. That's, old hat for this show. So
I mean, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get to the next week's games and make our predictions.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right, last week we said, hey, what would happen if we flip it and Matt goes first? So true to form, I had to follow through. So let's start with Matt for each pick this week. First off, we have Bama at 9-0 at Arkansas, 3-6. It's a noon kickoff on ESPN. Matt, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on this game, my friend?
3 years, we finally make a change, huh?
Yeah, sound a little salty. Gosh,
a little salty. Just a hair. Definition of salt right now. Yeah, It's Bama. Bama's going to do Bama things. That's how they operate. Arkansas is looking a lot better than they were, but let's remember this is an Arkansas team that's still 3-6. So Sam Pittman will not be saying yes, sir, when they get crushed 45-10.
Okay, Jesse, what you got?
This is not the Arkansas team of like Ryan Mallett past. That used to make me a little nervous.
Yeah. That was a throwback.
TBT. That was TBT. But I'm obviously picking Bama 22-17. I think we give up a little bit of a score in some garbage time.
Okay. I got Bama basically doubling. Well, not basically, actually doubling their score. I got Bama 42-21 in this one.
You're only giving us 42.
I know, right? All right, so let's go ahead and go to Georgia at 6-2, at Mizzou 5-3. That's also noon on SEC Network. Matt, what do you? What's your prediction for this one?
Coach Drinky is coming off of a pretty big win last week.
Every time you say it like that, it's like you're talking to a 5-year-old. Coach Drinky.
Well, that's because his name's Coach Drinky. Listen, and again, I know the Missouri fans who listen to this don't believe me. I don't have anything against Missouri. I just don't like your coach. I don't.
You just want to bully their coach.
You know, we're talking about irrational stuff.
I would like to run him into a locker and take his lunch money.
What did he do to you, Matt? We talk about Jesse having an irrational fear of Jimbo or hatred.
I know, I get called irrational.
He's my Jimbo Fisher.
Coach
Wes,
Drinky is your
Jimbo Fisher?
Oh God.
I think most of the coaches I hate are with good reason, but I'll have to think about that one. I don't know. Anyway,
so Missouri is going to be coming off a pretty big high after winning that squeaker they had against Arkansas last week. So Georgia, I think, is going to be able to establish that run game early, stay on top of things. I don't think they're really going to have any trouble here. So I think Georgia wins 35-10.
Okay, Jesse?
Yeah, if UGA does what they're supposed to do, I think it's going to be fine. I'm picking the Dogs 35-17.
All right. Yeah, I think so. Mizzou always plays this tough for whatever reason. And I think they score a little bit more points than we're kind of used to for Georgia giving up. But I do think we're able to put up some offense on them. I've got Georgia winning this one 34-20. All right, next we have Tennessee at 2-6, at Vanderbilt 0-8. And that is a 4:00 on SEC Network. Matt, I'd like to hear your prediction on this interstate rivalry here.
This
doesn't have a name, does it?
It used to not matter. It was just we beat that team
That's
from the
true.
other side of the state.
That's fair.
It's never been. Anyway, I won't get into it. Sorry, I got a little verklempt there. So I got a sneaking suspicion that Tennessee's going to have to do something here. It's been a really rough couple weeks on Rocky Top. We've looked bad. The coaching's been something. Quarterback play's been bad. This has to be a statement game to finish things out. Well, before the A&M game. So I think that we've got to do something here. I'm hoping this is what the score is, but I got a sneaking suspicion it won't be. I'm going to say Tennessee wins this thing 28-3.
Okay. Jesse, what do you got?
Vanderbilt is 0-8. They don't have a head coach. I think Tennessee can handle this. For their sake, I hope so. But as a Bama fan, but I'm picking the Vols 31-10.
Okay.
Well, you're giving them a lot of credit.
I am. But I just keep looking at that 0-8, and it's just. Yeesh.
Yeah.
In fact, now that I think about it, Wes, I'm changing my score to 24-3 because 28 is too much.
Oh, okay.
Not that offense. Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't believe in you, boys. I'm sorry. I just don't. So stop asking.
I mean, I'd say 24-3 is belief. Whatever.
I buy that. I don't know why I picked the score I did, and the more I talk about it, the more I don't like what I just picked.
Yeah. I just don't know. So Vanderbilt is just a weird team. They'll be terrible one week, and then they'll just have a flurry of offense another week. It really just kind of depends. I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to come down to the wire. But I do have Tennessee winning this one. I'm going to go with 31-28 Vols for this one.
That is fair. Nobody plays defense anymore, so.
Yeah, it could be one of those shootout games, and we'll see.
God help my heart if I do. If we have a shootout with Vanderbilt that goes in the fourth quarter, I might have a conniption. I mean, I'm already halfway there,
right?
Because the state of things right now with
it could be worse. You could be Vanderbilt.
That's true. You could have an
is
O
it
at the
that
beginning
much
of
of a
your
drop,
record.
though? Is it really that much of a drop? I mean, at this point, we're kind of neck and neck.
It's a 2-game drop, but it still could be worse.
I mean, a 2 looks a lot better than a 0.
Yeah.
For what that's worth. But
you know what else, Wes? You know what else looks better when your quarterback or one of your quarterbacks doesn't talk crap about your fan base. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Oh, yeah,
Let's
that
move
was
on.
bad.
Gotta love the Twitter.
All
right.
Vol Twitter, wild place.
About to eat him alive. Anyway, LSU at 3-5 at Florida 8-1. That is a 7:00 kickoff on ESPN. Matt, I would like to hear your prediction for this one.
I think Coach O is going to have them up for this game. It seems like the LSU Florida game is always a close one when they play. I'm giving LSU a little bit of credit here. I think LSU is going to be a little bit embarrassed about what happened against Bama, so I think they're going to probably turn it on a little bit this week. I'm going to say it's closer, but it's still not that close. I'm going to say Florida wins this thing 38-20.
Okay, Jesse?
Yeah, UF should be able to run over LSU. I still think they give up a couple points because, like Matt said, I think LSU is pretty embarrassed. And UF's defense, like we said, not necessarily where they should be, but I'm thinking because it is in the swamp, they're going to do a little bit better. I'm picking the Gators 35-13.
Okay. I think there's going to be a lot of offense. I think obviously Florida is going to, put up a ton of points. But I do think LSU is able to put up some points as well because we've seen Florida's defense struggle. Although we'll see. We'll see if Grantham gets yelled at this week. But I have the Gators.
Mike them up.
Gosh, I can't imagine.
I don't want to be in the middle of that, Mike.
I got Florida winning this one 45-21. And then finally we have Auburn at 5-4 at Mississippi State 2-6, and that is 7:30 on the SEC Network. Matt, what's your prediction?
Coach Leach, I'm sorry to do it to you, bud, but I just it's not happening. Auburn wins this thing 21-14. I don't think Mississippi State's got the weapons to hang on this one. I just don't.
Okay, Jesse.
I don't think Mississippi State's defense puts the pressure on the Auburn offense that they need to in order to pull this one out. And I also don't think Mississippi State's offense is good enough to win it either. So I'm so sorry, Coach Leach, but I'm picking the sweater vest 31-10.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Mississippi State's offense do some good stuff in this game. But I think ultimately Auburn's just a better team, and I think they're going to win. I have Auburn winning this one 28-21. So that does it for our games for this coming week. Next, we have our Just for Fun segment, which as soon as you mentioned it last week, Matt, as a suggestion for a future segment, I couldn't wait to get to this one. In an alternate universe, what job would each coach have? And we've divided these up amongst us. So, Jesse, let's start with you first. And Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin.
This is going to be rich.
Strip club owner.
I knew that's what you were going to say. He owns a nightclub.
No, I said a strip club.
No, a nightclub.
Gentlemen's club.
Fine, call it what you will.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
In Mississippi. Hugh Freeze frequents all the time.
Oh, gosh.
And there it is.
Oh, man. All right, next, Mizzou and Coach Drinky, as Matt would say. I can't
Drinky.
I think Drinky is like a really boring high school civics teacher.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
And his kids sit in the back and they go, Mr. Drinky.
All right, this one might be a little.
As a teacher, I appreciate that.
This one might be a little too soon. So I got South Carolina. I got Shane Beamer. I don't know. We don't really know much about him. If you don't have one for him, you could go with like either Bobo or maybe even Muschamp, whatever.
I could do Muschamp, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beamer, I don't know enough about to give a weird answer, like a gut answer, because I don't prep for these. I
just feel it in the
say
moment
when I read it. So for Muschamp, I think he is one of those guys that buys like vintage wrestling action figures and sells them on eBay out of his mom's basement. Like eBay is like his thing.
I don't even know what to say to that.
What?
You know,
I don't know.
I could see it though.
I mean, why not?
Like he's just downstairs and he's got like a whole like room full of these old action figures and he's like yelling at people, have bidding wars, and his mom's like, well, you need to stop and you need to eat. And he's like, Mom, I'm in the middle of a bid. Like yells.
I mean, now that he's without a job, that might be what he's doing. I don't know.
Probably.
He's
Hey,
like
there you go.
he's like Will Ferrell in gosh, what is that movie? Is it Wedding Crashers, where he's just like he lives in his mom's basement?
Yeah,
and
Mom, meatloaf. Yeah.
Is that Will Muschamp?
Kind of. And he's like, I do.
At home, it's 5 o'clock. He's still got his slippers and his robe on.
That's Will. Yeah.
Asking his mom to make him meatloaf.
Right, exactly.
Some chicken nuggies.
Some dino nuggies.
Oh, I wanted the chicken nuggies with the cheese in them.
They make those?
So
That's a thing.
Yeah, it is a
I
thing.
mean, I don't mind chicken and cheese mixed together, but
no, they make
inside of a chicken nugget. Just
Matt, come on, processed chicken with little chunks of cheese in it. You know you want
not real cheese.
That's too far.
Yeah.
That's too far.
None of it's real.
Listen,
even the chicken.
I'm a fat kid. I'm okay with most things, but I draw the line at chicken or cheese inside my chicken nuggets. That's just that sounds like that's straight from the
that
pits
and
of hell.
ketchup. I don't know what you do with that.
I don't know what you do with that. All right, and then of course we have for Jesse, Alabama, and Nick Saban. What's Coach Saban's alternate universe
this
job?
is gonna be rich. I'm waiting.
That is so hard to think, honestly. And I think, and I may be getting this, I could be totally wrong, but I think maybe his dad had this job. I think his dad owned a like convenience store / like automotive repair shop, like back in the day in their West Virginia town. And I just see Nick Saban doing that. I see him like owning a small business and just like
critiquing people as they go in and out of his store. Like, welcome to convenience store. Get your crap and get out. Or
no, he's just like, you should really try the oatmeal cream pies.
Yeah.
We're out of Coca-Cola, so stop asking.
Yeah, stop asking. Yep.
You keep on, and I've already told you.
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm not gonna talk about it. The rat poison on aisle 2.
Your rat poison's on aisle 3. Oh God, you've made Nick Saban a greengrocer. That's where we're at, kids. He's running a mercantile. Wow.
All right,
None of those were prepped, everyone. That just came out of my brain.
I love it.
I loved it. It was great.
Fantastic. All right.
Everything I wanted and more.
All right, Matt. So Arkansas and Sam Pittman. What do you got?
Sam Pittman, boyo, is going to be a competitive barbecue pit boss.
Yes.
His entire gig is running around from competition to competition, making ribs. And every time he opens up the thing, he goes, "Yes, sir!" And then he closes it. Yeah, he's really good at it. He's a blue ribbon award-winning barbecue.
He had one quick like thing on Guys Grocery Games, like he made it to an episode.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, this has nothing to do with the fact that Arkansas's mascot's the Razorbacks. Just so we're clear on that. That has nothing to do with that. I'm not saying this is where it was going.
Yeah. All right. Auburn and Gus Malzahn.
Gus Malzahn is the CEO of a failing paper company. A la David Wallace. Because if you look at a picture of Gus Malzahn next to a picture of David Wallace, they're the same bloody person.
I love it.
Yep.
I love
Google it. You go stop the thing. Go Google it right now.
Hold on.
I'm right.
So does this mean that after he gets fired from Auburn, he's gonna start a company that's called Suck It?
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly what it means.
And then you suck it, or however that jingle went.
And he plays the drums with his kid. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Yes, it has to happen. All right, Florida, and Dan Mullen?
Dan Mullen's running a prison.
What?
He's a prison warden. I mean, he already runs the University of Florida, and that's practically a prison. Yeah, I said it. So what?
Okay.
I did it. I said it. I went there. I told you I was going to go there today. I went there.
That would also
what do
be
you
a
say?
really scary
Nothing?
prison. I'm imagining like The Longest Yard.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm also
that's kind of what I was envisioning in my head.
imagining him walking the halls of the prison in like a Darth Vader costume or something like that.
That's
what he makes the
bars
guards
of the Billy
wear.
Club.
Yeah, that's right.
He's the emperor. Excellent. Good.
All right, Mississippi State and
Your
Mike.
journey to the dark side is complete.
Yeah,
Throw
well,
more
it should
passes.
be.
I need more touchdowns.
I feel like I'm
And
missing
rails
something
off of
because
them.
I've never
I've
seen
been
Star Wars.
working on
Thing,
this.
don't-
For
Wait,
quite some
time out.
Anyway,
time out. Wait. What, Jesse?
No, I've never seen Star Wars.
Wes, come on.
What are you looking at me for? I mean, she watches whatever she wants.
You're related to her, and
Yeah.
you're like the biggest Star Wars nerd I know.
I feel like you've seen some, haven't you? Maybe not the whole thing. You haven't seen any? Like any?
No.
Jesse.
Wow. I will. So she has seen some of the Hobbit movies and Lord of the Rings.
I've seen
I
all
think.
of Lord of the Rings and The
Yeah.
Hobbit.
So there you go. So she's
What,
got
did you
that.
like those?
Yeah.
Did you like Star Wars? Let's continue, Wes. I can't handle. I'm blocking you, Jesse. I'm covering your face in the monitor right now because I can't handle you.
And
Hi, guys.
shunned.
Shun.
Mississippi State Mike Leach. Matt,
Unacceptable.
what do you got?
Mike Leach is that history professor that nobody wants.
Okay.
Not because he's not a good teacher, but he has a really bad habit of following rabbit trails during his lectures, and he loses everybody. And he's also very critical on his exams and when he grades them.
But still tests people on the actual material that he doesn't cover in
Right,
class
exactly.
due to his
Yes.
rants.
Yes.
Doesn't
like
have a great Rate My Professor.
No, his Rate My Prof is awful. It's like a 2 out of 10. And every complaint is him saying that he spent 45 minutes of each lecture talking about Blackbeard.
Yeah.
When I signed up for an Intro to Civs class. Like, we're supposed to be learning about Roman history, and you're talking about the Queen Anne. Like, we're all over the place, Rob. Where are we at?
Yeah. All right. I like that one. Next, we have, of course, Tennessee and Coach Pruitt, Jeremy Pruitt. What do you got?
I think Coach Pruitt, if in another life, if he wasn't coaching football, would be doing landscaping or construction.
Yes.
Landscaping or construction. Maybe get some experience at putting out dumpster fires. That would be good.
You don't think he'd be a gourmet chef?
No.
Speaking of chicken nuggets.
What's that?
Speaking of chicken nuggets with cheese in the middle.
He eats
Oh,
both.
man.
Yeah.
100%.
What if we made chicken nuggets with asparagus in the middle?
Ooh. They're healthy.
Yeah, they're vegan.
Yes.
They're chicken nuggets made of ground up asparagus. What are we even doing, Wes?
I don't know.
Get your
Okay,
segment
moving
done.
on. Wes,
All right. So
what do you have for A&M?
Texas A&M and Jimbo
You're so
Fisher.
pissed.
The choice is clear. He is a used car salesman.
Yes, he is.
Anytime that guy opens his mouth, he's got that used car salesman vibe about him. So,
It does.
and
Ew.
or he could be a failed therapist because Jameis Winston and all that. So I have the feeling he tries to say nice things to get people motivated, and it just doesn't work. He gives the wrong advice. I could see that happening.
He's
as
the
well.
worst therapist ever. So you're telling me that you just don't like yourself? Well, maybe you should kill yourself and be done with it. Yeah. Oh wait, no, I didn't mean that.
Sorry, no.
Hey, good job, Jimbo.
Yeah. All right. So next I have wow, I don't know why I did that. Anyway, I had Vanderbilt for Derek Mason. Currently,
It's okay. I did Will Muschamp.
Currently, they don't
Not
have
there
a
anymore.
coach. I guess I could do whoever their interim coach is, whatever. Anyway, Derek Mason, I think that choice is also clear. Weightlifting instructor or fitness expert. I mean, that's if he already has his next gig. I mean, if coaching doesn't work out, he's just there, and people would pay him for
Instagram
it too.
fitness influencer.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. Kentucky, Mark Stoops. Also obvious, bourbon taste tester. Hello. I mean, that's what he was doing after that big win there.
Distiller.
And they're in Kentucky, so convenient. All right, and LSU at Orgeron, Swamp People, because that makes sense.
That's a job.
Exactly. Yeah. He's out there. I don't know.
Shoot him, Chumley. Shoot him.
It's on again over there.
I mean, you need subtitles for him anyway.
Oh man,
and
Fran.
I would love it. And Coach O with subtitles on the Bayou. So.
It'd be helpful. It'd be so helpful.
I just have a mental picture of Coach O in a pair of jean coveralls but no shirt. Just a pair of overalls with no shirt on, and chomping on a big cigar, just talking, and no one understands him.
I see him on a fan boat with a ham sandwich, his dog next to him, and like a pile of gators at his feet. And
an American flag bandana on his head, and fried chicken on a stick in the other hand. Mm-hmm. So
with cheese in the middle of it.
And saying, used to be a coach at LSU, you know.
You're enunciating too much.
Oh, yeah, LSU. Man.
Yeah, there you go. That was it.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, go Tigers.
They suck. All right. So next I have Georgia and Kirby Smart. I don't know, man. I had a difficult time with this one because I can't imagine what else he would do. I just went with like drill instructor or motivational speaker because if you've seen him on the sidelines, he gets pretty animated and jumping up and down and yelling. So I think that he could just kind of slide into either one of those roles pretty well.
I see him doing like heating and air.
Yeah. It's the bowl cut, isn't it?
Yes. And the visor. I see heating and air, or because he likes to yell so much, I could see him on the stock exchange.
Yeah.
You know what? He could do that. I could see that.
Yeah. And he's very like ding 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 all the time.
Everywhere. And he'd have
I'm sorry, Jesse, can we get that one more time?
Ding 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 ding.
If he was on the stock exchange, he'd need a get back coach up there too.
Oh, they'd have an intern for that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So that was a blast. I really enjoyed that. Just for fun, we're gonna have to maybe do some kind of variant of that in the future as well. All right. So yeah, I mean that does it for this week's show. Lots going on to talk about, and it's great to talk about it with you guys. And our listener feedback as well. I'm a computer guy. It's whatever. Our listener feedback. If you'd like to contact us, hit us up in email at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. You can also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/pigskinsandpageantry. Check us out on Twitter at PPSEC Podcast, and we are also on Instagram at Pigskins and Pageantry. Don't forget, we are available for download on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating system. And we are also on YouTube. Catch us there, and you can see our wonderful faces. So, yeah. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. We would love that. And again, we appreciate you guys listening. Until next time, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
Y'all just remember, be better than Ohio State and don't try to cheat your way into a playoff. Do better. Roll Tide.
Ooh. A little extra cheese on that taco.
With chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Coach Fulmer, if you're watching this, please, for the love of God, fix the problem. Go Vols.
I don't know what the problem is.
I would love to know what the problem is.